Before our break, we saw here a panel of one can call them the trust tech, and we have a talk by Naomi Krieger Carmy. Is trust tech a new innovation vertical, and can it save us from disinformation? We just saw a few examples. Naomi, are you sure?
Okay, thank you, Irad. And I realize that I'm the last thing standing between you and the coffee break, so we'll dive right in. Hang in there. So just a word about kind of who I am. My professional focus has been always around technological innovation and how it can solve big problems. And in the past year and a half, I've been doing that in the context of Remedy Colab, which is a company I co-founded with Hod Fleischman. And a lot of the work that I'll be showing you today is a joint effort between ourselves and some good people with a doctor in front of their name at the Brandeis Institute, trying to ask the question about this industry and what can innovation be doing to solve it, and what is the state of that industry. And so I'm really thrilled to be coming right after the panel where you saw some real life examples of technological solutions. So I think to this audience, I don't need to spend too long talking about the problem. And for those of you who are here early enough, you saw Professor Ben-Gal had a similar slide in his presentation. The issue that we're talking about is really how digital content has become the main source of information, opinion, interaction in our world, and how easy it has become to manipulate that at a large scale. So whether it's in the business world, whether it's in kind of national security or societal aspects, elections, huge concern, and even as we just heard in the last panel, the LLMs themselves becoming platforms for disinformation and manipulation of information. And all of that together has led this issue to be labeled by the World Economic Forum and others as one of the biggest risks of our time to the global economy. And I'll just stay on this slide for one more second to say, I kind of take it for granted that most people here get this. But I want to say that when I talk to a lot of other audiences, we get stuck here. We don't move past this slide because there is not yet a widespread recognition that this is an issue. And I think that's something we need to keep in mind when we go out of these discussion halls. So what to do about it, on a very kind of schematic level, and I'm thrilled that, the way the lineup today has been positioned, there's going to be discussion of all these aspects. So whether it's regulation, and looking at what limitations need to be put in place on the platforms, on the spreaders, whoever it is, whether it's education, and I use that term broadly to cover both actual education, but also civic activism, consumer activism, research, a lot of different activities that are helping people recognize this issue or do something about it. But the third kind of leg of that stool is really innovation. And what I want to focus on now is asking the question, is this a new industry? Does it matter to ask that question? And then what can we say about the companies offering solutions? So we looked at a lot of companies around the globe that are trying to address these issues. Over 900 companies that we started looking at initially, and we narrowed it down. And what we saw, first of all, is that to date, they've been classified in different existing verticals. So we're here today at Cyber Week, and cyber is really kind of the one that comes to mind first. Is this just a new variation of cyber? But some of the solutions are coming from the trust and safety industry. Some of them are coming from the marketing, and specifically the influencer marketing industry, because, right, it's kind of the flip side of if you're doing an influencer marketing campaign, you also have to know how to protect from a malicious one. And then some of them are coming from areas as diverse as, ed tech, and you asked before about kind of how can we change cognition. So there are entrepreneurs looking at it from that perspective. How can we educate people better using technology? And equally diverse are the set of customers that these solutions are targeting, which you can imagine also poses a challenge. So it's going all the way from national security to corporates, to individuals, parents, and kind of everything in between. And we see different solutions trying to grasp all of that or some of that. And I think kind of the assumption that we worked with is, if we do discover that there's a real industry kind of forming here, and if we can define it more clearly, that will help it. That will help investors be clearer on what it is they're investing in. It will help entrepreneurs and researchers identify new opportunities, and it will kind of move things forward. And the way that I propose to define this industry is trust tech. And that's because I think that you should define solutions not by how the solution works, but rather by what problem it's trying to solve. And the problem that we're trying to solve here is this new world that we are rapidly moving into, where we're afraid that we won't be able to trust anything. Nothing that we read, nothing that we see, nobody that we talk to. And so that's really the core here. And so just kind of expand on that a tiny bit, we're not just asking whether it's fake or not. And I think that the previous panel explained that, really well. It could be the content is true, but the actor is fake, and so forth. We're not just talking about social media. We're talking about all sorts of platforms and contents. We're talking about solutions that are dual use in the traditional sense, military and civilian, but also triple or even quadruple use that they serve societal, business, public, defense. And most critically, that we're talking about all kinds of solutions to address this. And so let me dive right into that. What kind of companies are we talking about? So the first group, and this is pretty much kind of what was represented in the panel, narrative intelligence, it comes by other names, but these are companies, and just a few examples here from around the globe, companies that are really trying to dive into the messy reality of the internet and find whether it's the deepfake content, the actors, the behaviors, the networks, using amazing technology to do that, coming out with some really good outcomes. Some companies have chosen a specific focus within that. So whether it's a specific use case, like helping individuals, as an example of an American company, a specific technology, like focusing on voice as opposed to video or as opposed to text. But if we look a little broader than that, then some companies are coming at it from a completely different angle. So some companies are trying to build better platforms or enable better platforms. That could be actually building a new social media platform, or it can be a solution like OpenWeb, which tries to offer content creators and publishers a way to monetize by creating healthier and safer platforms. The implicit assumption there is that people want that. And all the way through to technologies that are dealing with verification and authentication. So this is a fantastic company out of Hong Kong called Humanity Protocol, and they're saying we want to be able to kind of to borrow a page from the financial industry's book around KYC, Know Your Customer. We want to know that we're interacting with a human online, and we can use technologies like biometrics to verify that, but on the same time, we want to maintain people's privacy. So we can use blockchain or other encryption technologies so that I know that I'm talking to a human, but I don't need to know exactly which human. And all the way to companies that have chosen a specific focus area, such as children's safety, and offering everything from devices to apps to networks that screen, filter, provide a safer environment for children. So it's a broad set of companies. You can read the full paper on the Brandeis website. It was also covered kind of in the press with featuring great stories from the industry. But basically, we kind of used a methodology filtering a big tech startup database and eventually coming up with 256 companies that we define as trust tech, 162 of whom are still active. And then we also compared those with some benchmarks. So what are some characteristics of the industry that we found? One, the industry has grown kind of based on technological developments, social media, Gen AI, but it's also been massively influenced by geopolitics and news. So we see after Cambridge Analytica in 2015-16, entrepreneurs say, what's going on? We need to set up a company to solve this, and so forth in other events. The map of the companies around the world, similar to a typical startup ecosystem map, but interestingly only found in democratic countries, and I think that says a lot. And the industry is growing fast. So I think there's a lot of cause for optimism. The companies are early stage, but when you look at the growth rate compared to other industries, it's growing fast. And there are some big success stories out there, big investor names, et cetera. And I wanted to kind of put this in a context which I think is really helpful to understand the why. So there are two trends here that are really driving this industry. One, from the right, if you will, kind of the resilience, defense, cyber, recognizing that this is the next frontier to deal with. And from the other side is the responsible AI, safe AI, public interest technology movement that's saying, wait, what is happening to humans' relationship with technology? We need to be doing something about it. And the great thing is that they converge in the middle to kind of drive this industry forward. I won't have time to go into too much of this, but we really tried to break out what companies can and can't do today. Great range of solutions. Still, to be honest, a lot of room for growth on actually being able to mitigate. And we heard some of those challenges, but also some of the successes from the panel earlier. Israel, great story. These aren't all the Israeli companies, but there's some of them. And I think that there are lots of reasons to be optimistic about this sector growing in Israel. We have both the capabilities and the need. So bottom line, will trust tech save us from disinformation? It kind of depends if you're a glass half full, glass half empty kind of person. I think on the positive side, this is a huge unsolved problem that is going to meet us in every aspect of life. The industry is growing fast, there's great innovation, and there's a lot of room for more. But on the other side, I think we need to be honest that it can't be solved by tech alone. Regulation is key, and politics have become critical, and the issue has become politicized, and we need to recognize that. The mitigation solutions are still tricky, ethically tricky, as we heard. And the societal uses often don't have clear customers willing to pay. And that sends the companies to do a lot of brand protection, which is a valid business model, but might not save democracy. So thank you all very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. So we are taking a break. And just before we are leaving, I want to thank Alexa Horowitz that was working. Alexa, please stand up. Working a lot. And we have still a lot of, plans for afternoon, including warfare and cybersecurity and national policies and so on. So please keep with us, and eventually we will end with the keynote by Dana Ariely. So thank you very much. Enjoy the break and see you later.